Good evening, everyone. I'm Resident. This is Gary Clark from CMW. Welcome again. A lot going on. A lot's been validated. I must admit, I'm kind of feeling the last 10 years of our life isn't actually for nothing. It's one of them. As most of you may know, we've been. If my mic goes, I'm on my backup set, so I'm sorry. It's the best I can do. Most people realise in pushing the constitution, common law. A lot of people will say that it's not enforced. It's but we've picking it up all recently, including I believe GB News last night. They come out and I believe he actually come up and back as well and said, I don't know what's going on. It seems going and he keeps coming off. I don't know if I speak a bit louder, maybe that'd help.
No, that's all right now.
But
you sound okay now. You just wake up when you move about.
Yes, I think I've got a faulty connection. As I said, it's a backup headset because they all keep messing up basically. So I need to get myself a decent new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently it was. I haven't watched it myself. Apparently it was on TV News last night as well. The Constitution is in force, which means what myself and Gab have been saying for the last decade. Magna Carta, Clause 61, are unalienable. Our constitution is in force, and it's the very tool that we use to bring the government and the crown to heel. Basically, we use that they are tools to stop the government, stop the king from being honest and committing treason. The problem with that is us people that have to hold this. You actually have to be involved. You have to get on more than government, what they do, and their bizarre sovereignty. It's the very thing we have, and we've been saying this for many years. And people, and to do this, we need unity. So I don't know if hopefully people will jump over and see. It's Maverick Veteran on YouTube. Simon Bean at MBE. He's just done a live calling for unity. As we keep saying, it's time now, people. We have a solution. We have the way. We have the modem. We have the process to stop what's happening, and that means 15-minute cities, the immigration invasion, as some people call it, the tyranny, the treason actions, things like the international health regulations. Now, if people read that, there's a couple of videos on here about, we've done part 2. We're going to carry on with the rest of the document. It's been busy, but it's the international health regulations. If you read it, it is legally binding, and if most people understand the difference between law and legal, you'll understand that law is the only thing that can stop their legal tyranny. Yeah. Can everybody hear me okay? Because someone said it's impossible to hear me.
You can hear you, Nath, but you're still breaking up. You're still breaking up a bit.
That might be. Yeah. I'll do my best, hopefully.
We'll have to get you the new set of headphones.
I am going to be getting a new set. Is that any better?
That's a bit better, yeah. So I'm trying to look at the chat at the same time as.
Some of it will be. Yeah, well, we're gonna have a decent discussion. Hopefully, Simon and Bees will jump on with us tonight. And we can have a proper chat, because we want to have a little chat about the Constitution. We want to mainly have a chat about unity, because it is time, people. It's time.
Well,
stop competing with each other. Okay? Stop attacking each other.
as you know, we've been doing this now since 2014, me and you have. 9 years this year we've been working together, and our message has always been the same. The Constitution, Article 61 is the answer. It does work, and it's nice to actually see it vindicated and be brought to fruition yesterday that everything we've been saying for the last 8 years is indeed correct, and we've been, vindicated by that. So that's a good bit of news for the change. But now the people have just got to back it, basically. You've got to do the right thing by your children.
But this is the very thing. This is what people need to come to an understanding of. This isn't a case of one person do this and then everyone's successful. You are what makes it successful. So it is when we pull our sovereignty. It's basically diffidatio, it's called. It's fealty. It's when we remove our allegiance to the crown and the tyrannous parliament, and we remove our sovereignty and our consent, basically. Because many people don't know this. When you vote, or even if you're on the electoral roll, you actually have tacit 4 years for anything. So the minute you vote, you basically give your consent, and anything they do after that until next election, you've already consented to. So you don't actually have a right to complain. That's why they do things like government petitions, because it just gives you the illusion that you have a say. You don't, because you've already consented. You've already given permission. That's not going to change. And they're going to carry on the way they're doing it. It doesn't matter if it's Labour, Conservative, anyone. It's time we actually removed ourselves from this system. It's like we've been talking about a lot, Gary. It's like a lot of people say about, oh, you have to vote, you have to vote, you have the right to vote. Yeah, but we don't have to vote for treason, and that's what we're doing. As we was discussing the other day, Gary, a lot of people want solutions. Now, there is a massive solution, one that everybody can do. Everybody talks about a vote for no confidence, okay? But there's a more legitimate way to remove ourselves and to make sure that this parliament stops. For instance, if we had as many people that voted for Brexit remove themselves from the electoral roll, remove themselves from voting, there could be no legitimate parliament, there can be no legitimate vote. Therefore, under Article 61, when we gain back control of our country from these treasonous, well, they're elected, but they're unaccountable, so-called MPs, we can actually then bring about basically a lawful parliament. So that means all the people that are going for the independent seats and stuff like that, you'll have an actual run at it. It won't be like it is now, where it's completely biased. You don't have a chance. We'd actually create a situation where the people would actually have an input, and we could actually have the right people in there. But we have to do due process, and before that, we have to abide by our constitution, because it's the constitution actually binds not only us, but it binds the crown and it binds parliament. Nobody is above the law. Article 61 proves this. Even the king or the queen is not above the law, and the law of these lands is common law and the constitution. And under common law, the people decide. It is a jury that decide the laws. All Parliament can do is enact legislation. Simon Bean's is basically spot on. A lot of people mistake basically legislation as laws. Okay? Acts and statutes are not laws. They are rules and regulations for a corporation, i.e. the British government. And anybody who works for them, and that's what voting, and that's what certain other aspects like the trust that's in your name, that it makes you part of that. It makes you basically part of that corporation. You can remove yourself from that, and you can say no. You can stop consenting to it all. And once you do that, the power's back with us. They have no power.
Yeah.
The reason why we vote, and
yeah.
But the reason why we vote is because we believe that we actually have a say, but it doesn't. I mean, if you get to know politics enough, you'll understand that we don't actually get a say. The only thing that really happens is we actually give them power by giving them our sovereignty. And that's where they get the power to actually act in our name. So it's time for us all to say, not in my name. And to do that, you remove yourself.
Well, basically, you can
Evening,
see over
Danny.
the
Evening,
years,
evening,
the last
chat.
40 years, you can see the last 40 years how it's changed. 40 years ago, they used to have to go out and canvass and really beg for people's votes, etc., etc., because they was frightened of being kicked out at the, the next election or whatever. But now it's gone from that to where you're not even asked permission anymore. They just tell you who your prime minister is going to be without even any consulting at all. And this is where you shouldn't realise now there's no power in voting anymore, and there never will be. It's just going further and further away from the people. And these people who are supposed to be there to govern you with consent are now patronising you, and they are mocking you by more or less telling you, no, you vote and they do what they think is best for you, not what you think is best for you. And that's where we've got to turn it around, like Nathan says, and you've got to use your common sense and realise that at this present moment in time, the whole lot of it's corrupt and tyrannous and oppressive, and it needs removing. Simple as.
Scott in the chat said, how will not voting help the leftists will still vote? It doesn't matter what the leftists do. It's about making a legitimate parliament. And while you're voting, while you're consenting to what they do, they're not doing what you want, and you're just basically saying, go on, carry on. I don't mind, carry on. Not vote. It's not about not voting. It's about removing yourself from the political, like the electoral role. So you're basically you're no longer consenting to be governed by these people. Okay, a no vote a vote of no confidence or a vote in any way is a consent. It is agreeing to whatever they do, whether you like it or not. So actually removing yourself from the electoral role means that you no longer consent to be governed. Now, when a big chunk of the population stop consenting to govern, there's a problem. It no longer becomes legitimate. I mean, the left is, most of us will know about Brexit. The left is actually quite claim, and I hate to say the word lefties, but the Remainers had quite a lot to say about it, because even though it was the biggest vote, I think, to my knowledge, that we've ever had since we actually had a voting system. The Remainers was trying to complain and saying that it's not a legitimate vote because there was only not everyone voted, and that's the thing. If there is enough populace, you've got to remember the populace that don't vote, the populace that ain't on electoral anyway, that all counts. But if what we need to do now is we need to start spreading the word, and this is where unity comes in. So down to the one or two people, it is everybody's duty to uphold the laws in our community. It's everybody's duty to uphold the constitution that binds Parliament. And to do that, because Parliament isn't at the moment, has been for some time. So if you vote, you're voting and you're actually becoming part of that treason. So you're not helping, by actually aiding and abetting their crimes. So if you don't want to send off, if you don't want to keep having immigrants come over, if you have to actually do what we call due process of law, and that means you've got to stop consenting. And the only way to stop consenting is to actually remove yourself from the voting register.
Basically, what the governments are saying to you,
I said that
is we are tyrannous, we are corrupt, we are going to oppress you. Would you like to vote for us to do that? That's basically what's happening. And when you vote, you are saying, yes, whoever wins, if you're Labour, Conservative or whatever, I'm going to cast my vote. And if my party wins, yes, I'm quite happy for you to keep on being tyrannous, oppressing me and being corrupt, because I've consented to that by voting. That's basically what you're doing. And people don't realise this until you wake up to that. Then you're never going to get it, really, because you're never going to get out of this by voting, ever. So you remove the corruption at the top that's pulling all the strings for the people in the Parliament. Their puppet masters have got to be removed. Then politics can work again for us. But until that happens, it's never going to work for us, because you can go in there with the best intentions. Me and Nathan, anybody out there who's really genuine, you could go in there with the right intentions, but you'll be told, no, here's a piece of paper. That's how you're going to work. If you're not, then a scandal, an accident or something, you will be removed. You won't be doing this job for very long. And that's what's happening. But people just don't believe that the government could be that corrupt and that evil. But they are, ladies and gentlemen, 100%.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, we've said this thousands of times, haven't we, Gary? We back the people actually have the people's part, so that's the independents. People like John, who you was on like a live, like Gary. We back independents. We don't want the main parties anymore. They have proven. When you understand the British government is actually a corporation, it's the British East India Tea Company. When you realise that that business is going to run on what they want to do, it ain't about politics, it ain't about our way of life, it ain't about what we want. It is a business that has basically a projection. It has a goal, and whether you're Labour or whether you're Conservative, doesn't matter. That government is employed to do that. So our political system was subverted a very long time ago. Unlawfully, that very much unlawfully, and treasonously as well. No foreign.
And you've got to look at it as this, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually,
you all wear
that step. Okay?
And you've got to look at it like this, ladies and gentlemen. You all work. If you don't work for yourself, that is, you all work for Asda, Morrison's, or in a factory, or for the mechanics firm, or whatever you do. You work for the company. Now, does that company run for your benefit, or do they run for their benefit and for what they want to do, what they want to put into place and to happen? And that's exactly like Nathan said, that's exactly what the British government is. It's a corporation. They ain't running this country for you. They're running it for them. They want what's best for them. That's why you're having all these smart cities being brought in, because that's better for them. Because instead of people being spread out all over the country, you're all going to be in little smart cities, in little compounds where you're easier to monitor, you're easier to control. So don't ever think that this government's got your best interest at heart, because they haven't. Simple, right? No.
Health regulations and amendments come in. This is complete consolidation. It's central control. WF have been saying it for years. They call it sustainable, but it's not. Basically, it's a consolidation of everything, whether you be human, animal, whether it be building, whether it be minerals, everything. They plan to consolidate control of everything. Okay? That can't happen. We can't let that happen. Yeah. Our government are part of that. Our government actually literally signed every single document, whether that be European treaties, whether that be international treaties like the WEF or the UN have done. They signed up in a way that sold us down the river. It's not. They don't care about us. It's not about us. Like Gary said, the voting. I can name quite a few people over the last 2 decades who honestly meant well when they went into Parliament. What good did they do? Not much, because they're overpowered. Start actually getting into politics, you understand politics. You'll understand of like a position called the remembrancer. Now, remembrancer is technically basically the most powerful person in Parliament. And who does that person represent? They represent the banks and the corporations.
Yeah, I mentioned this to John on his live.
I am trying to stay out here.
But when they say sustainable, ladies and gentlemen, they mean sustainable for them. This is what you got. It's all double speak. Oh, it's sustainable development. Yes, for them, not for you. You're going to be worse off. Them are going to be better off. Like I said, because you're all going to be corralled into big cities, smart cities. And the other thing we need to say to them, Nathan, is that a lot of people won't know this, but since 2001, we've actually had a tumultuous assembly. Parliament's not been lawful since the 23rd of March 2001.
No, that's by law. As like GB News last night has backed up, the Magna Carta is in force. I mean, a brief history of Magna Carta was in 1215, also added to in 1217, which was Carta de Resta. A lot of people use the thing of, oh, but it was rewritten. Yeah, well, it was. It was issued by the king. Had no right. Magna Carta was a peace treaty. The king had no right. He basically just issued. Well, actually, successive kings did. They reissued the Magna Carta, and they was basically saying, well, you can use this one or you can use that one. But they did. They hid the one that fits us, and they've pushed the bar and the court system to push the king's how to say, of the matter. And where it's been rewritten time and again, all it done was trying to hide the clauses that they felt didn't really go for them. Things like Clause 61, which means the king is not above the law because we are the law. It means we can hold them to account. This is going on for centuries, over 1,000 years at least, where the powers that be always try and get complete control, and we keep having to reaffirm our rights. And this is what we have to do. Our constitution is in force, and the reason why you are taught in schools that it is because it's more powerful than any legislation that the government can come up with. This is what people have got to realise. This is where we need unity, because it's working together that we'll actually get this. This is why the Long March to Freedom 2 is coming up. This is where groups and individuals will unite. Okay, there is bigger things than bickering afoot right now. Like I said, the international health regulations that literally was done in November of last year, was signed by the 93 countries. Sets out basically just a quick overview. It sets out that the WHO there's a pandemic, and when there is a pandemic called, that affects everybody globally. There's only a few countries that are opted out, but it's globally. So basically, one position within the WHO controls the whole world. I mean, this comes into the 15-minute cities and that deep restriction of rights. It actually does away with all your rights. I mean, we have inalienable rights here. A lot of people are used to having human rights. That human rights are something the UN come up with that we can use if we want, but our unalienable rights cannot be taken from us. They cannot be transferred, bought or sold. They are given. But as soon as you are born, the right to happiness, the right to freedom, many different ones, and this is what they want to hide from you. As Simon Bean said in his live earlier, the government don't want you to know about these things because you can say no, and we can say no. Most people think that voting is the only way we can say no. The way you do it, voting is saying yes. This is where people need to be strong. They need to lose fear and understand there is a way us people can take back control. We can have a proper, legitimate, lawful parliament.
And we can have one for the people.
Things like with the international. Exactly. This is. I mean, we are not going to get a people's parliament. We are not going to get our independence in as it stands at the moment, because the system is too corrupt. The only way you can remove the, because this is the thing, a lot of people want to do away with the House of Lords, Parliament. We don't do that. They work perfectly if they are done right, and it is our responsibility. It is actually each and every single one of our responsibility to make sure it does run right. For too many years now, for decades, in fact, we've turned away from politics. We've turned away from what they do, and we've ignored it, and we've found ourselves in this situation. Well, it's time to turn our gaze back to these people and use the power that we actually hold, which is greater than theirs, and actually bring about an end to the corruption. And like we keep saying, being a people's parliament, it's time to re-establish our rights and uphold them, and make sure every single MP and crown servant, first and foremost, as their oaths and as the law states, uphold our rights before any legislation and before any wants of a corporation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
But
it's like what people have got to realise is, like we've said, this you're talking about a corporation, a business. They've duped and lied to everybody. So it's up to us now, like you would if you owned any other business, because we're still sovereign, they still work for us. It's the same as with any other business. If you've got somebody thieving and etc. from the business, you don't close the business down, you get rid of the problem. And that's what we've got to do with this parliament. It's parliament and the system is a good system. It's the way it's being run and the way it's being played out to the people. If these people did what they should do, there wouldn't be any problems. But of course, this again, the route to all evil, people can be bought. And plus the fact we all know what else goes on with the behind closed doors when they frame them and take pictures of them in awkward positions. And these people are foolish enough to allow themselves to be in them positions. And that's basically why we are where we are, because it's not that probably some of them don't want to do the right thing, but they say, oh, if you do that, we're going to show this video, we're going to put this out to the press. And then they have to do as they're told. But we ain't got to worry about them. We've got to worry about us. If that comes out, that's their problem, not ours. They shouldn't have done it.
exactly. Well, this is the thing. Is some may know this, many may do, many may not. But myself and Gary, back in 2018, we actually, under Article 61 and Section 3 of the Criminal Law Act, we actually went and played Sadiq Khan, kissed up Green, and a couple of other actually charged with the police. The police actually backed our charges with CPS. Now that's the furthest anyone's ever got, the most anyone's ever got, actually having these MPs actually prosecuted criminally. The problem is, not many people backed it, and it was not in the public's interest, because when you've more people that vote these people into office than actually want them investigated, CPS deem it's not in the public's interest. And this is where we have to start actually doing the right thing. We actually have to go by law. Instead of legislation, instead of politics, go by law. If you want these people brought to justice, it has to be done in a certain way. It's due process. Same as if we want to clean out Parliament, we don't try and fix what's going on. We need, like someone said in the chat, then we need a total reset. And the only way to do that is to remove ourselves and remove our consent. That their only reason why they have power is because of our sovereignty. So if we remove our sovereignty, remove their power, they are not a legitimate government.
Well, people are getting misdreamed. I mean, people keep calling it the Khan events. But actually, ladies and gentlemen, when we went into the Khan event, we didn't just go to citizens arrest Sadiq Khan. We also citizens arrested Keir Starmer, Kate Green, and Andrew Harrop. And Sadiq Khan. That's 4 of the top Fabians at the time. And we went in to their own conference, and it got beamed live around the world. Now, we went in there to prove that the Constitution and 61 worked, and we was proven 100% right, as you will see if you go watch the video.
But even on the video, in the video, when the chief inspector, the Metropolitan Police, is talking to us, he's given a big load of paper. That's our Constitution he's got in his hands. And the constable says himself, yes, all laws, they may be old, but all them laws are still in force. And that was back in 2018. And we've had to fight tooth and nail just to people to understand or even remotely listen to the fact it does. And this is a problem. Stop turning away from our power, because that's what people do. They focus on what power the government have and trying to influence that power. You're not going to influence that power. The only way you're going to stop it, the only way you're going to change anything is to take back your power. And we can do this. Yeah. It's part of what the Long March to Freedom 2 is about. I mean, we will do a bit of an update on that later on, but for now, we need to start talking about unity. We do. It's like with the Fabian Society. it wasn't just about them MPs, because the case that we actually brought about, which is still able to be gone through with, can be widened to all MPs. So not only can we have them removed from Parliament, we can actually have them criminally prosecuted. But it's going to take each and every single one of you to back it. It's not a case of letting someone do it, and if it's successful, then you'll join in. We all need to join in from the beginning, because as a collective, with unity, with the power.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's the same as that when we went down when you got arrested, Knife, that last year, 2020, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, when we went to Scotland Yard during the pandemic.
We took that other paperwork in. Now, you could see how many police was waiting for me and Nathan. We went there peaceful and we went there lawful. And we had a big envelope, and on it had got sedition and treason. And not one of them wanted that paperwork off us, because they knew from the Khan event that we did everything by the book and our paperwork was spot on. And nobody would take that paperwork, because the minute they did, there would be had to be an investigation, and all the treason, the sedition, the subversion from the Ted Heath government right up till now would have come out in that court. That's why they didn't have that paperwork, and you know that's true, Nathan.
Yep, very much so. I mean, I think there is a video flying about somewhere where the constables actually state on what they're talking. They're not touching all the constables taking that to the point as well where they said that Crusader Dick actually ordered our arrest. That's why I got arrested, because one or both of us was getting arrested. Thing is, me and Gary knew that was a possibility, and he was trying to do certain things, so I was happily arrested. They thought refusing taking it didn't, because in the ensuing court case, I actually had those crimes of sedition and treason put on court record, and that was with the help of a judge at the time. So we've not only got the case against Keir Starmer, Khan, and all that lot, we've also now got it on court record. But the only thing we're lacking is the people backing it. And I'm not saying backing me and Gary. I'm saying back charges, because what we did is for everyone, so every group can get evidence of this MP's crimes and help us put it into that case. Every individual can get evidence of their crimes and help us put it into this case. With a massive collective of people all gathering evidence, we can bring the biggest case in history against the Parliament. And that's every single one of them. Any single one of them that has proof of crime, and it was the police actually put them charges to CPS with evidence of crimes proven. Yeah. CPS that done their thing. We need people to actually back it. So when we come together, when we are as a collective come together, and we actually all join in, because it's not just about me and Gary, it's not just about CMW, Constitutional Movement Worldwide, putting these charges in. Every single group and every single individual is welcome to get evidence of their crimes and help us get into this case, and together we can build one of the biggest cases there's ever been.
Yeah. It's not about us at all.
But it takes everything from all of us.
About the children. That's what it's about saving our children. We don't want our children to end up in a totalitarian slave regime. That's what's going to happen if we don't wake up to what's going on and do something about it. I was at a party last night with relatives, and I was telling them about the 15-minute cities and all that, and they was laughing at me, saying, oh, you know, they ain't got a clue what's going on. They didn't even know about them. And when I was trying to tell them, I just said, you know what, just go and research it when you get home, because you're in for a big shock. I don't know whether they have or not. I hope they have, because, and that's the thing you do, you lose friends, you lose family, because they're so indoctrinated that they won't even look into what's going on. There's a difference in saying, I'm not interested, but at least look and see for yourself, rather than just poo-poo it out of hand. No, that's bullshit. Go and look, at least look first. You know, I don't get people at all.
Well, this is the thing. This is where a lot of people, I think, fall down, because we have had many people before who have spoken about Constitution, stuff like that, and they've kind of they've done more damage than good, because you have to do it in the correct way. There's a thing called due process, and it has to be adhered to. There's no other way. If we do not do it right, if we don't act in the correct manner, then we become unlawful. So as long as we remain lawful, we can do this. And this is the thing, and this is where unity is key. And unity is key. I mean, there is many groups across the whole country that have got. And it doesn't matter what your cause is. It, like we say, it could be 15-minute cities. It could be the channel crosses. It could be everything. All, if you look at the heart, if you boil everything down to its basic points, every single time it will come back to a parliament that is treasonous and acting against our best interests. And that's where unity is key. Again, it doesn't matter what group you're from, what they're 3 and 2. And every group needs to be on this. This is not a normal march. This is not one of these marches where you go stand in London and then go home. We're not doing that. That's not what this march is about. This march is about an action. It's about solutions. It's about bringing about the solution. It's not that it's going to take place over a few days. This is not a one-dayer. This is going to be a thing. So you, like I keep saying, you're going to need a tent. You're going to need a decent sleeping bag. You're going to need a decent set of walking boots. This is a full-on solution that is going to be enacted. Try and be there. Every group needs to be there. Get your flags out. Get your banners out. Represent. Let's show this parliament that we can unite. The people have had enough, and our laws are no longer going to be hidden from us. Our laws are going to be used, and we are actually going to bring about change.
Yeah. The minute you realise, ladies and gentlemen, that these people who you think, and well, and rightly so, are on your side, that they're actually not, and you unite with the people like ourselves and everybody who's watching this, and other people and family members, when you unite with those who are on the same wavelength as you, and you remove the tyranny, it can be done. But you just got to lose that bit of fear that people have got, because there's no reason to be fearful, especially if you go in 61. There's no fear to be held at all. Like I said, we did that day, Nathan, in front of the world cameras. We never got no arrests or anything, because they've got nothing to arrest us for. We did everything right. We was lawful. We was peaceful, and we was reporting a crime. You've got nothing to fear unless you're going there to be violent with machetes and everything. You've got nothing to be feared. If you're standing correctly in 61, you've got nothing at all to fear. At all.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing about 61. We've used it when we went into the Favour Society. We were Sadiq Khan. People don't like him. He's actually quite a good solicitor. He's done a lot, and he's bent the system and loopholes in our system. He's not a bad solicitor. So if anybody could somehow put a hole in what we did, it would be. And then you've got Keir Starmer, who's a barrister. He's also been head of CPS and the Department of Public Prosecutions. Again, if anybody could have picked holes in what we've done, it'd have been them two. And we didn't face one arrest. We've never faced prison. The only thing that happened is faced a criminal prosecution in court. Again, the only thing that let it down is that people did not back it. You didn't put your name to it. And that's all it will take. Like I said, and again, to all groups will help you. Your sense of crimes will help you get put into this case. It's not that hard, and everybody can have part in it. This is the whole point. The egos need to go. They need to go. Conflict and the competition with each other, it needs to go. Everybody actually works together. Not only can we bring about real change to our political system and to our parliament, we can actually have the very people that have committed these crimes against us brought to justice. But it takes us, like in 1215, like in the Glorious Revolution, like in every single time in our history. It's only when the people unite, they come together for the common cause. And that should be to uphold your rights and to end the corruption. when rights, when you end the corruption, the very core fight for are the abuse of our children, the abuse of our rights, the abuse of our borders. That all stops because it becomes unlawful. It becomes well, it's constitutionally repugnant anyway. But until we uphold that, until we address that, there is actually no way it's going to work. The power lies with you, not 650 people in suits that are ignoring you and just doing what they need to for their little gravy train. I mean, most people know this because they say it. How can an MP, if they're not corrupt, if they're doing right by us, how can the majority of MPs walk into Parliament, barely in their own house, but by the time they've ended their term, they come out multi-millionaires? That doesn't happen on like a 60 bill. Just doesn't.
No.
So I understand the amount of corruption, the amount of crimes that's going on here. I mean, we all know about the PPE contracts and how they was all sent out to their mates and that lot, all keep it in house. This can stop. Imagine if we had a parliament that one of the first on the list, before you could even think about being an MP, is you have our constitution, you have to know our common laws, you have to know our rights, first and foremost. Then everything comes after. Imagine that. Imagine if the first instance of any MP's actions will be that it's never to be contrary to our rights, not contrary to our constitution, and they're to uphold our laws at all times. Not a corporations, not an international, corporation like the UN or the WF, but our rights. Go in there and uphold what's best for us. And this is the problem. Most people are kind of, I wouldn't say ignorant, but they're oblivious to how powerful your rights actually are. They're under the Magna Carta, and it's, like I said, GB News is upheld it. The Speaker upheld our constitution with it last 2017. So there is all the proof there. But they don't want you to know this. But under Magna Carta, there can be no 15-minute cities. There can be no blocking of our roads or restriction our travel. There can be no COVID reports. There can no be forced or mandated vaccination. It all stops in one foul swoop. And that one foul swoop is when we all stand together.
And the biggest criminal...
That's long and short of it.
Yeah, the biggest criminal thing about it all, ladies and gentlemen, is every single one of them people that sit in that parliament are fully constitutionally able. They know the constitution inside out. So they know what they are doing is wrong. They know. So there's no excuse there. That's the biggest crime of all. They are treasonous, 100%.
Exactly. Some will probably claim ignorance. We even get some MPs that will say that we haven't got a constitution. We get people who say we haven't got a written constitution because it's not codified. No, it's not codified because we're not America. Ours was first constitution. It never be codified. Look in a legal dictionary. Look up the word code and what it would mean. Okay, our rights and our constitution was built over 800 to 1,000 years. Okay, it's because us as people and our ancestors, our past generations, stood up and fought for those rights. Are we just going to let that be in vain? The millions upon millions upon millions of lives that have been lost, so that we can sit here today, that we can travel down our roads, that we can go out for walks here. Are we going to just throw that away? Have we not got just as much duty as our ancestors who come before us? It's like you're some MPs who we haven't got a constitution. We have got a written constitution. We're just over 19 documents.
It says in the chat now. I wish your mic couldn't keep. I don't know when to come in because your mic's breaking up terrible. But Bobby says in the chat that some of these MPs actually. Going to let me speak. Right. Bobby says in the chat that some MPs actually swore their allegiance when they took office to the Crown on the Quran. And that's true. That's wrong. That's unlawful.
Yep.
That should not have happened.
No foreign prince or
all.
prelate. Yeah, no foreign
Yeah,
prince or
exactly.
prelate. There is a reason why it says in our constitution that nobody can take office without a certain amount of generations, because you need to know what it is to be a part of our nations. I mean, no foreign prince or prelate. There's a reason for that. To uphold our values, to uphold our laws and our rights, to make sure they're never changed.
Yeah. And as Rick says, if you look, many times these people, John Bercow done it, Gina Miller's done it. They've used the Constitution against us when it suits them. And then when we try to use it on them, it doesn't exist. Can't you see what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? It's a sham. Of course it exists, otherwise they wouldn't be able to use these laws either.
Exactly. I mean, I'm actually going to a case. It's Crown Court on Tuesday, where our constitutionally protected, unrestricted right to protest has been upheld. This is what we've got to do. Our constitution is there. You've got to know your rights. You've got to know how to use them. It's like we see many people, I'm not going to name any names, but we see many people running around on their lives now just shouting, no consent, no contract. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to learn your rights. You have to be able to voice your rights, because if you don't know your rights, you have none. And that is the law.
Yeah.
And this is why CMW and other groups, we've spent many years and a lot of man hours researching and putting this out so we can teach you. This is the thing. This is what people don't realise. When myself and Gary first started, it would be hard to find even one person in a town that even knew we had a constitution, let alone that common law was the jurisdiction of our lands. Nowadays, a lot more people are aware, a lot more people know about it, and this is what we need. We need it back in our education system. But again, until we stand up, until we do something about it, and that means all of us. We can't keep sitting back in that one person, one group, or a small group of people is going to do this for you. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to stand up. You're going to have to act. Yes, it's like with a long march to freedom too. Yes, there's going to be some sacrifice of that. It's going to be over a few days. So people are going to say, I've got work, I've got the kids got that. Well, you're going to have no right soon, and there's no way of fighting. Okay, so be willing to make a small sacrifice now, or you can sacrifice everything later on, because I can assure you, when Klaus Schwab and his mate, includes Tony Blair, the very one that took a while men and women to war life, when they you will own nothing and be happy, they mean it.
Your mic's gone altogether.
Right, well, everyone's saying that my mic. Yeah, right, bear with me 1 second.
Right, guys, while Nathan's doing that, if you learn your rights, your constitution, especially your unalienable rights, you will be surprised how good they work, because your unalienable rights cannot be contravened. They're not human rights. They're not the Human Rights Act. It's not their act. This is what we've been telling people for years. It's not their act that they have created. So when they created that, when you say I'm going with the Human Rights Act, you're going with them. So that's open to interpretation. Your unalienable rights are your God-given born rights. They are life to life itself. So pursuit of happiness, and that's one of the main ones, a pursuit of happiness, because it allows you, you know, families and everything else like that. It's all right, my brain's gone. I've been that busy today. But pursuit of happiness is like right to a family, right to own property. All these things these people want to take away from you. And liberty. Liberty Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, them are the three. Liberty is everything, carbonated. Your right to choose, right to travel on the roads unimpeded. It's a lot of things. Everything you can basically think of comes under liberty, and you are allowed to do all these things under your inalienable rights as long as you are not causing loss, harm, or injury to anyone else. That's all you need to remember when you're talking about your inalienable rights. And these people, I've used this many times through the lockdown. I went back and forwards to Belarus during the lockdown to see my wife because we got the business sales, travelling to and from, because I love this country as well. I'm trying to sort this country and be with my wife at the same time. It's difficult, but I try. And I was stopped at Birmingham when I went the first time. Where do you think you're going? I'm going to Belarus. I don't think you are. I said, you better get your boss on because somebody is going to be paying for all my compensation for my flights, this, that, and the other. His boss come on and explained to him what the inalienable rights was. I said, you better look it up. I'll see you in court. And I'm not going after West Midlands Police. I'm going after you and your sergeant here. You two will be the ones in your private capacity that will be facing me in the court. And he said, let him go. And I've never had any problems with my inalienable rights. I was kicked off a plane on the way back once, told the same, and it was KLM. And I said to the two people, I just got my phone out of my pocket and I went click, click. And they went, what's that for? I said, it's for the court case. What court case? The court case that you and your colleague here will be coming into for contravening my inalienable rights. Because now you've kicked me off that plane, you're saying you're not going to do anything. So now I want compensation in the court. The same thing, she went away, she came back, let's sort this out amicably. Within half an hour, I'd got a seat by the window and the flight on the next flight from Amsterdam back to the UK. So I know 1000% your inalienable rights work, but you've just got to know and be confident enough to use them because it's that simple, guys. But 61 does work, 1000%. We've proved it with the Khan case, and also it gives you the right law, not just the lawful rights, but it's morally your moral right to have to do this for your children. Because, like I said, when tyranny comes, tyranny will never go away by itself, ladies and gentlemen, never will. Tyranny, wherever you look where there's been tyranny and corruption, there's always had to be an uprising to remove that tyranny, because you don't think they're just going to give it up, do you? You don't think this government's just going to go, oh, well, okay, then we've been tyrannous and corrupt. Well, we realise we're doing wrong. We'll stop. They ain't going to stop. They're going to enforce more and more and more, because we've said this as well many times, and everybody's watching this knows this. The more you acquiesce, the more you consent, and the more you comply, the more tyranny, corruption, and oppression will come your way, because you're seen as weak. You're seen as weak, that you ain't gonna do nothing. We can do whatever we want to these, and that's why these 15-minute cities are now popping up. And if they get away with it in Oxford, they'll do, like I've heard there's going to be one in Leeds. They'll do one in Leeds, and then it'll spread. It'll spread like a cancer all around Britain. Well, these 15-minute cities, if we allow them to. But make no mistake about this, guys. These cities cannot go ahead if the people don't want it. Because when you say no en masse, they can't do it. If they're saying, oh, this, and you bring a JCB, move the middle thing and just carry on driving, and every time they put something there, you check it down because you don't want it, they will eventually get the message that, you know, these cities are not for the people. But you do all this under 61. You do it lawful and peaceful. When you notify the barons get involved, and then we become the barons' army. ladies and gentlemen. We become the Baron's army. So then all the stress and everything's taken off you. You just do your oath, and the Barons will then say, right, next week we want everybody to stop paying council tax. Next week we want you to do this. Next week we want you to do that. And you take your orders then, because like I say, you become the Baron's army, and the Barons will sort out the Parliament. The Barons, the first thing I would imagine that the Barons will do is disband Parliament because it's treasonous and it's corrupt. Then these people will face justice. Then the Barons will put a new Parliament that's for the people in place. But at the same time, you remove Richie Sunak and everybody else, you will also be removing Klaus Schwab, the WEF, and all these kinds of institutions at the same time. But people don't believe it. They think it's too good to be true, but it's not. Every time it's been used, it's worked. So, and we've got nothing else to, there ain't no other massive plan that anybody's come up with that's going to work. Because trust me, they fear this. That's why Simon Bean said it earlier, and GB News said it. That's why they tell you it doesn't exist. Because the last thing they want is you knowing that indeed it does exist. And actually, you've got more power than them. That's what they don't want you to know. But unfortunately for them, there's too many people waking up. There's too many people like us spreading the message. People are waking up, you know, but they just need to work. They need to grasp it faster. That's all. We just have a quick look on here. And then basically, like I said there, the Barons will then, and then all these people, but you don't realise, well, these people think they're sitting pretty, but all their assets will be stripped. The houses, every bit of assets they've accumulated from the treason will all be taken back from these people. And this is why they're so scared, because at the end, if we go into 61, guys, it's not going to be us that's going to end up owning nothing and being happy by 2030. It's going to actually be the governments. And this can be done anywhere in the world. All it needs, people don't understand that this country and other Commonwealth countries that have it is unique. It's the most unique country in the world because we have got this document. We've got this Article 61 document that gives us the power and the lawfulness to do this because it's there in our constitution. Other countries are not so lucky. They don't have that, but they can still do it with people power because people power is the strongest thing you'll ever see. I mean, you've got to have seen things like in Mexico a few years ago when that mayor was being treasonous and corrupt, and they told him to stop, and he didn't. So they went to the courthouse or wherever he was, his office, with one of these low back trucks. Went in there, dragged him out, and took him away, throwed him out, and told him never to come back. So, and he never came back. That man never came back, by the way. So, people power does work. But you have to be peaceful. That was peaceful. They took him away. They didn't kill him or anything. They just took him away out to the edge of town, got him out the back and says, right, you wouldn't do as you was told. People asked you many times, you're not welcome in this town anymore. As long as it's done peaceful and lawful, you can't be touched under 61. And that's what people need to understand. I don't know what's happened to Nathan. He must have... I've been telling him for ages about them headset. He needs a new pair. We just write with that, Pauline. Once you do your 61, you send it to the barons, you send it to the council, you send it to, I don't know, West Midlands Police if you're in here. It could be Manchester, Greater Manchester Police, if it depends what area you're in. But you send it to your local area, Chief Constable for your local area, to say you are now in 61. When you send your declaration off, you send it by recorded delivery to the barons, one to the police, one to the council, and then you wait 30 days, and then you send the same to the same corporations and that with your. No, it's saying the claim of right first. It's the affidavit of truth next. After 30 days, you should affidavit of truth, and then 30 days after that, you send your claim of right. Then you're in full rebellion, and then it gives you the right to do everything that the barons ask of you when the time comes. And while you've been away, now, if I've just told them what 61 entails, that we become the barons' army, basically. Oh, it's gone again. That was a nice visit, Nath. Yeah. See, with that there, Jane, technically, King Charles, as he's going to be known, should not have a coronation. Well, he can't. He can't be king while he's part of the WEF. He cannot. Because like Nathan says, it's now foreign prince or prelate. Well, he's becoming a foreign body because he's still attached to the WEF. Until he comes away from the WEF, the people must not let him become king. They must, protest, do whatever they've got to do, because it's a conflict of interests. He cannot be for the people and for the WEF. So at this moment in time, yes, he is treasonous, and he should be part of it. He should never ever have a coronation and be crowned king while he's still got attachments to the WEF. He shouldn't, and he can't. Well, lawfully, he can't. But again, like Nathan said, that's down to us. If they sit him and do the coronation and stick a crown on his head and we do nothing, that's our fault, because we all know he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be doing it. He's not got the right to be king. And again, the only people to blame for that will be us, ourselves, because we've got to stand up. Now is the time for 61. 1000% it is. Well, yeah, he will, Mark. This is the problem we've got now, Mark. People, like with these 15-minute cities, I don't know how old people are on here, but I know when I was a kid, if they'd have stuck anything like that in the street when I was a kid, they wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. These 15-minute cities, they'd have been smashed to bits, because they says, what do you think you're doing? Trying to restrict our movement and our freedoms. But the problem is, the little thing in the corner called the television have been brainwashing people into believing that the government must be bowed down to. The government is actually your master, and it's not. It's the other way around. And I'll have any politician come on a show with me and Nathan, or both of us, and I'll have it out with them about who they actually serve. But we ain't had enough. We've put that offer out anyway, many times. Any politician wants to come on and prove to us that we are subservient to them, and it's not the other way around, and bring their evidence, we're quite happy to debate it and have it out in the open. Even go on live telly and do it. But we haven't had one reply from one of them that want to do that. It's funny that, isn't it? Because if I knew I was right, I'll be there in my shoes black with my evidence to prove that I was right. But these politicians won't do it because they know full well how treasonous they are. But only we, the people, can sort it out. Yeah. It's just looking at the comments, guys. But yeah, but Facebook and YouTube, anybody when you're coming up, because I've just seen that in there, as soon as you start to talk about things that's important, you'll get the or whatever over the top, because they don't want you to hear what's being said. But hopefully soon, yeah, it should be stopped. Well, that's down to the people again. We should be saying, you know, should be not petitions and letters, no good. There should be, because it should be adhered to. But unfortunately, when you send a letter to an MP, but don't even read it, guys, they'll get it straight in the bin because they think they're above the law. And this is where, like I said, 61 comes in. We have to stop all this. We have to stop this. You think you can just ignore the people and do what you want. You can't. And the coronation should 100% be stopped. But again, 2, 3, 10, 20 people ain't going to stop it. It's going to need millions of people who know what the rights are to say, hang on a minute, you can't become king because it's a conflict of interest with what you're doing. And then he's got to choose which one. And if he chooses to be king and he carries on being treasonous, then the whole law should come back for that, for treason, when he's deliberately done it. Once you pick a side like that, he should stick with it. Either abdicate and go with the WEF and let somebody, his son, take over, or take the crown and do the right thing. And there's no in between with that for me. Well, he ain't actually the King of England yet, Bobby, because he can't be king until he's had the coronation. But even on the coronation, like the Queen, who was treasonous, by the way, the Queen was treasonous from the outset. Because if you listen, when she said in sincerity in her coronation oath speech, and she should have said in all sincerity. If you look up the difference, in all sincerity means she's doing it for us, for all, in all sincerity. When she says insincerity, means it's for her, means she's going to do what's best for her. In all sincerity means I'm going to do it for all of you. So she lied on her oath right from the get-go. If you don't believe me, go and look them up in the dictionary. Insincerity and in all sincerity. You'll see the difference. It's only one word, but it's a big difference. Massive difference. I see what you're saying, Mark, but the problem with that is, and we've said this to many people, we don't like the monarchy. We're Constitution movement worldwide. We're for the Constitution. We don't like the monarchy at all, any more than anybody else does. But what you've got to understand, the Magna Carta comes from the king, who's the monarchy, and the people and the barons. If we get rid of the monarchy, you've got no constitution, because that contract's then broken, because there's not two parties. So as much as we hate the monarchy, what we can do is get a monarch, vote in a monarch that's for us. The office that they hold, the monarchy, the office that they hold, must always remain, because otherwise the constitution's gone. But it doesn't mean to say that that family has to be monarch, because like I said, we're the people, we're sovereign. The Queen's sovereign, but only because of us. We have to accept them. If the people turn around when Charles is being coronated and said, we don't want him, he can't be king. The people have to agree to it. That's what people don't, that's why they have to ask. But if it's flooded with people, we don't want him, we don't want him, we don't want him, then he can't possibly be king. If there's, I don't know, 58 million people say, that's the majority, said, no, we don't want Charles, he can't be king because the majority of the people don't want him. It is a proper democracy when used correctly. But unfortunately, it's not being used correctly because they've rolled roughshod over it. And now we're living under maritime law instead of the law of the land. How I always put it is, you've got underlay and then a carpet. You've got underlay, then a carpet. The underlay is the constitution. They've come and put a carpet over the top, which is maritime law. But if you lift the carpet, the underlay is still there. That's how I try and explain it to people. The underlay is the constitution. If you lift the carpet off, which is what we've got to do is 61, the constitution and everything's still there. It's alive and well. It's just been hidden because they put this maritime law over the top of it, which is the law of the high seas. It's commerce. It's commerce. It's not the law of the land. It's been done deliberately to deceive you into paying unlawful taxes and everything else. And like I say, once you get into it and you start learning it and you get interested in it, it becomes addictive. And the more you know, the better it becomes for you. And then you can teach others like we do. And you'll never see me or Nathan, or when we're on together, you'll never see us say, here's our PayPal, here's our Patreon, because we do it for free. We do it because we love the people and we love this country and we want it back for our children and our future generations. That's why you'll never see us advertising, or, buy this T-shirt, buy that T-shirt, buy this mug and all this, and you'll never see us say Patreon at the bottom left-hand corner, PayPal at the right-hand corner, because we don't believe in all that. We believe people need and should have been told all this at school, and we've learned it, so we want to learn and get other people into learning it for themselves and encourage them and help them. And to me, that's better than any money, because our reward will be at the end when we've got our country back for our children. That's the only reward we want. It's not about money and fame and likes and subscriptions for us. It's about the message. Come on, guys, we've got to do this for our kids. Let's do it. The children need us. So fill in your forms, learn your rights, and let's do this for them. And then when they see us stand up with the courage and the determination to do what we've got to do, don't forget, our children are very impressionable. That's why you got this with the drag queen shit. Very impressionable. So if they see us standing and rising and doing the right thing and got the courage, that resonates in here for your children as well. So you're teaching them the right way, not taking them to drag queen hours. People who do that, to me, lost the plot. Because how could your child ever get anything from that? It's just perverse. I just don't get that at all. And like I said, back in the days when we was kids, if that would have happened, well, you know what our mums and dads would have done when we was little, if they'd have tried that. pulling that stroke. But within a different time frame, where people have been manipulated, pronouns. Like I said, when people ask me, what are you defined as? I'll say, I define myself as a conspiracy theorist. My pronouns are we were right. That's what I always tell people when they ask me what I am, because I can't stand this binary, non-binary bullshit. There's only two genders. You're either born with a spout or you're born, that's it. Two genders. You can create whatever you want, but it's still down Mecky. You can dress up in the dress. You can have your bits chopped off, but all you are is a man with your bits chopped off. Sorry, Nate.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Right, yeah, it's nothing to do with my microphone or my headset. It's to do with my internet. I'm now having to come through my phone for some reason. My laptop and StreamYard's not playing on my end.
That's better anyway. We can hear you now.
But yeah, right, they're mucking about again.
I was saying something about the Barons. We become the Barons Army under 61.
That is true, yes. And this is why the Barons haven't actually been able to act yet, because we actually become their army. There is certain due processes we have to actually do. For instance, one of them is stop paying the government our money. And people sit and say it doesn't allow you to not pay tax. It's not true, actually. Completely false. It's you're duty bound to, because while we're paying these taxes, while we're doing all this, they're going to carry on. So we need to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But and I've been telling them about Charles. Charles cannot be king while he's involved with the WEF, because it's a conflict of interests. You can't do it. It's possible.
No, that's the thing. Charles, this is what's worried me as well, and this is why we need to stand now before his coronation and stuff like that, because under the coronation oath, and every king or queen has to take this, under the coronation oath, we actually have the power to deny someone the throne. Okay, you have to do that in a certain way. I mean, the problem with this is King Charles is always saying he doesn't want a lengthy coronation like everybody else. He wants everything shortened. It's not going to be a true coronation. He will not be our true king, but everybody's going to land up falling for it. And he will just land up giving us away to WF. We've got to make sure, and it is our duty, that any king or queen that takes that throne swears the coronation oath properly, like you were saying, Gary, with the correct wording, so they are bound to uphold our rights, their duties under our constitution.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, the Queen didn't do that.
No. Insincerity and all that, the wording was changed, and this is where people, they're relying on the fact of, because they, like I mentioned earlier about our education system, they removed everything from our education system a long time ago, so at least a couple of generations have gone past, so we don't know this, we don't know the wording, we don't know what should be and what is. It's time to start getting on board. It's time to actually start holding this and making sure that we don't keep letting these things slip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, Pauline Davies. We have contacted the Barons things. The Barons can't act or get involved until the people stand, until they have their army, until we stop. Basically, the problem is, while we're voting and while we're paying all our unlawful taxes to this government, the Barons cannot act, because that is us consenting to what they're doing. So they have no power. We have to actually do our due process and our due diligence. We have to remove everything from them and put it to the Barons. Until they have an army, they can't do anything. This is where people get most things mixed up. There's always going to be 25 Barons, because part of Magna Carta and part of our constitution is there has to be 25 named Barons that will make sure that our constitutional rights and our sovereignty is upheld. And that's what they did in March 23rd, 2001. They actually invoked Article 61 because they had to.
I was trying to explain to them, I've just explained to them a bit about we don't like the monarchy either, the way it is at the minute. But at this moment in time, we ain't got a lot of choice because
again we need to correct. Yeah, again we need to correct wording. We like the monarchy because the monarchy is the office, the position. We do not. Yeah, we do not. Yeah, we do not like the human. Yeah, we don't like the human that's acting the way they are in that position.
Yeah, it's the office, the old. We've got to, and I've said we've got to keep that, otherwise the constitution's gone. But like I said, if we're not happy, we can, you know, get somebody in there that we want. We ain't got to accept Charles.
Well, this is the thing. We have the right to deny Charles the throne. I personally think that half of what he's already said, and the way he's cozied up to WF. And you've got to remember as well, Charles was at the World Economic Forum of 1992 when Agenda 21, number 21 on their agenda, was actually put in place. Understand, all these elites, I don't like to call them elites, but all these self-proclaimed elites, all these politicians, everybody that goes to Davos, they are all in it, and they've been on it for some time. When they say they want a one world government, one world religion, one world army, they mean it. I mean, look at what Liz Truss done to us not long ago. Liz Truss actually signed over control of our military and all of our military deterrents to Europe. That was unlawful, but as long as we stand up, that's void. But the people have to stand to make it void.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I just wish people would believe in themselves and the Constitution and believe in 61, because it will set you free, 100%. I've just tried to explain in simple terms now how I always describe the Constitution, and that is, I always say the Constitution's the underlay, and they've come along with maritime law, which is the carpet, and put it on the top. But if you lift the carpet up, the Constitution's still there. All we've got to do, like Mark said, is remove that carpet. Remove the carpet again, and stand in our sovereignty and get rid of maritime law.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but basically a couple of things. Constitutional law, its direct translation is the ultimate law. There is no higher. Okay. Common law, because you've got to remember, maritime law and the legalese that they actually think they are rules and regulations. Common law is law. If acts and statutes was actually law, they'd just be called law. But they are the colour of law. And it actually says in Housebys, and I've just had this confirmed with circuit judges in court, and I have done a number of times, because they can't lie. Acts and statutes can only be given the force of law. So that sentence there alone tells you they're not laws, but they can be given the force of law by the consent of the governed. And that is actually, despite what people think, it's the individual consent. But unfortunately, most people don't grasp the fact that when you vote, you give consent to every single one of their acts and statutes. Whether you like it or not, you're bound by it. That's why you need to remove yourself from the electoral roll. You need to undergo diffidatio. There's also a trust implementation, the Crown Trust in that as well. And you need to remove yourself to make sure they can't use you as a trustee.
Yeah.
But Pauline Davies, they need enough people. It's not about how many numbers exactly or anything like that. I mean, if the amount of people that voted for Brexit would have more than enough, they need an army to undertake what they need to. So it could be 10,000, it could be 20,000, it could be 5,000, it could be 100,000, it could be 1,000,000. It depends. I mean, they just need enough people to do what they need to do. So let's not concentrate on numbers and go, well, when we've got enough numbers, there'll be enough numbers when we all start doing our duty. And this is the thing about Article 61. You don't have a choice. By law, you have to do this. If you don't do it, then you're an outlaw. You're outside of the law. Therefore, you're aiding and abetting. So if you don't go under Article 61 as it stands now, you're as bad as the people in Parliament. You're as bad as Klaus Schwab. You're as bad as all of them, because you're doing nothing to stop them.
Yeah. And you've got no cause to moan or whinge, because you know what the situation, you know what the solution is. So do we?
Yeah. But this is the thing. He's a solution. It's called the security clause for a reason. It's also called the Kingslayer. but its main aim is it's a security clause because it's our security against tyranny and against treasonous actions. So when people go, oh, how many numbers, how many, it's immaterial. It's immaterial because until an army forms, until the barons have what they need, nothing can be done. So why we're all sitting on our hands and doing nothing, we're allowing it. And that's what people really have to think. And under Article 61, you're compelled to compel other people to go into it.
Yeah.
Like I said, there should be enough now. I mean, we've been harping on it for at least a decade. We've done it before that, but a decade fully to where we actually completely and utterly put ourselves 100% into it. But it's been confirmed by GB News now. It's been confirmed by many people. I mean, Jacob Rees-Mogg, all the time he's been in Parliament, keeps quoting the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights, but for some reason, people still seem to think that the Constitution's not there, or they think it's not for us. The Constitution binds them. It is ours to use. That's exactly
There's my 61 knife.
Yep.
There it is, guys. That's all as simple as it is. That's your 61. And what I did, recorded delivery, I put on the back, and then what I did, I've laminated it.
Yeah.
So if that drops out my bag in a puddle or anything, that ain't going to get damaged. And that's the best way to do it.
Exactly, because as it stands, you keep your master copy. So the one that's got the wet ink signatures, you keep that at the moment. You send a copy to the barons, to the Crown, and to the police, to any Crown institution. You send it to all of them. But you keep the master copy because that is what actually makes it your under 61. So you don't send that off. You've got, like Gary says, he's laminated it. You can use sellotape and cover it in sellotape. Any way you can protect it, you can. But you're going to need that. That's what actually enacts your power.
And that was just to show you that we don't say one thing and expect others to do. We do it as well. We do it first to show the way.
I mean, I've used the Magna Carta and a Bill of Rights. If you use it correctly, I mean, a lot of people haven't used it correctly. A lot of people, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, because you get a lot of people, if you mention the Magna Carta, the first thing they go is freemen of the land. Well, myself and Gary are not freemen of the land. We're constitutionalists. If mentioning the Magna Carta or using the Magna Carta is freedom of the land, then Parliament's freemen of the land, the police are freemen of the land, the Crown's freemen of the land. Pretty much everyone's freeman of land because we all use Magna Carta in one way or another. I mean, there's still 3 statutes on the subversions on our statute books. So is our whole law system and everything freeman of the land. So try to ignore that when people say it because it's just a way of it's a way of defaming it. But if you actually know your rights and you know the law, you know it's fully enforced. Like I said, GB News is now come out and backed us. Many people have over the years. I mean, I'm not going to name his name, but there was meant to be a debate between myself and the black belt barrister over whether we have a constitution and whether Article 61 is valid. Well, he doesn't want that debate for some reason. I mean, I've got court orders written by a judge where Magna Carta and Bill of Rights are unrebutted. It's like our right to protest, okay? Our right to protest comes under the Bill of Rights, okay? Now, the Bill of Rights and the Magna Carta are actually linked, okay? Same as the Oxford Accords, I think it's an extension, basically. Yes, it's a statute, but it's a superior statute. But within the Bill of Rights, for instance, it's like what I'm fighting in a court case now, and at the end of it's going to be on Tuesday. I'm helping someone fight for his constitutionally protected, unrestricted, unalienable right to protest. So that means it doesn't matter if you upset someone or anything like that. You have a right to protest. You can't be stopped. And your right to protest in the Bill of Rights comes higher because most people think the Bill of Rights is what gives government the power to govern. It doesn't. It actually sets out the parameters to which they have to govern. But our right to protest comes higher in a document than anything to do with government. This is why, that's another reason why the Supreme Court had to uphold the Bill of Rights and our Constitution, because our Constitution is actually what allows a government to govern. And this is what many people haven't got along the way. But even the Bill of Rights, we have a right to protest and we cannot be molested. It cannot be taken away from us. I mean, this is where the confusion comes in, because people are often told they have a legal right to protest. Well, legal and lawful are 2 different things, okay? And the legal can never be repugnant to law. So law will always be superior. And in law, we have a protected right to protest. And that's what people need to start using.
Mark says he's correct in that. Magna Carta 1215 was a rewrite of common law that we've always had. Yet we have always had common law in some shape or form before Magna Carta, even going back way back. Well, you know that, Nath, back to Sumerians. That we had people.
Well, no, Sumerians aren't us. I mean, if you're talking in our islands, in our isle, technically speaking, our oldest form of like common laws, as it were, which is still actually within our constitution, and the Mulmontine laws. Now, these are like the old Welsh and English laws from about 4,000 years ago. Now, they're, for instance, they are common laws, because there's things like you're not allowed to beat your children, you're not allowed to beat your cattle or you overwork your horses in the field, you're not allowed to beat your wife, you're not allowed to steal, you're not allowed to kill for no good reason, things like that. These are all in there, and that goes back 4,000 years ago. And then the start really of our common laws being established and put to writing was back in 800 or so. Basically, the king got all the laws, common laws of the land, and he wrote them down. That's in around about the mid 800 AD, basically. So it goes back as far as that. I mean, some people get confused and they try and say things like legalese started with common law. No, it didn't. Legalese didn't really start in this country till about 1066. So unless you're saying common law started in 1066, no, it's not. I said legal and legalese is different to law. But it's, I mean, we started with Alfred. We're talking Doom law, stuff like that. We've had them for centuries. We've had common laws because our common laws reflect common values, i.e., we won't steal, we won't kill, and basically our common laws keep peace within society. We've had them for a very, very long time, and Mark's right. Every so often, it's usually every couple of 100 to 300 years, we have to re-establish, because there's a constant through our history, there's a constant re-establishing of our laws and our rights. And Mark's right in that. Magna Carta was one of them big moments when our laws were re-established. Because some law, I mean, they always done it in the past where some laws wasn't written down, some was taken. So that's what Magna Carta did. It set out to actually write down these laws. That's why when people say we haven't got a written constitution, they're wrong, because it is written. It's just written over 19 or so documents. Some of it, I would say, would be unconstitutional, like the Cecily KB Act of 1666. But even that has its sort of place in some way. That should be moved to statute. It shouldn't be a law. But indeed, Magna Carta was a re-establishment of our rights. We've had to do it. And this is why we're yet again in that situation where we have to re-establish our rights and our laws. Because it's like Gary says, they've allowed maritime law, because it's a corporation. You've got to understand, the British Tea Company, they got their power, their wealth. They're the only ones with a standing army, actually, through trade on the seas, by controlling the seas. And all they've done is unlawfully and unconstitutionally move their laws of the seas onto our land because of certain things they've done within the past and within their power. And we've got to change that. Until we actually stand up and we re-establish and reaffirm our rights again, they're going to go. I mean, like we keep saying about the international health regulations, I mean, that does away with human rights, because human rights were never secure. If you actually read the Human Rights Declaration, in the preamble, before you even get to even read about your rights, it states that they are only to be taken into consideration. So do you really want to rely on rights that are only to be taken into consideration, or do you want to rely on your rights that cannot be taken from you? Because that's what unalienable rights are. They are unable to be alienated. So not a constable, not Parliament, not the King, nobody can stop your rights, like the right to protest. A constable, for instance, so you're protesting out loud and someone says, I'm offended. Doesn't matter, because my right to protest comes over their right to do something about being offended. It nullifies it all. It can't be overridden. And this is where we need to really start using our rights. They're the most powerful thing we have. and the international health regulations. It's going to get rid of dignity. It's going to get rid of human rights. Literally everything. The international health regulations, the amendments, when that thing, and they're due to come in end of this year, sort of 2024. So we haven't got too much longer left. This is why we need to start standing. We've got less than a year really. If that comes in force, then what happens is the WHO has one position, and then we have no more. By the way, when this happens, because it will, there will be no elections because there will be no parliament. The parliament will be a vassal in itself. It will be a hollow shell. It won't have any power. It's like when we was going into the EU. It has the illusion of having power, but like when we was in the EU, it kind of put our parliament to the sort of the place of like a local council. And that's what the international health regulation is: complete consolidation of power to a group of people that are unelected and unaccountable.
Yeah. Well, as you probably know, in the chat, they call us Chattel.
Yeah.
Which is like an animal, slave, an animal. That's what we know higher than that in their eyes. So you can see where we are in their list of things to protect. And
well, as it stands, we are with Chattel. We are a commodity to them. We're not men and women. We're not living beings. We're a commodity. That's why there's a number that relates to us that's like being put on the stock exchange. They have dehumanizers. We are nothing to them. We are, technically speaking, whenever your name is written like Mr. and in all uppercase, and a lot of people laugh at it, but it's actually true. I've had it in court, proven it in court. That is your legal persons. That's not you. And they trick you to do that. So whenever you sign anything, whenever you put that name down or answer to that name, you're actually pretending to be something you're not. So therefore, you're actually joining them in the fraud. So you have no recourse. You have no excuse against it. And when you become your legal fiction or act as your legal fiction, a fiction does not have rights. Only men and women have rights.
Yeah, but the nail on the head there, Nathan, because people need to realise as well, when you go to sign anything, like for a house, a loan, car, anything, if you notice the money's not generated till you sign.
Yes.
You don't sign, that money's not even generated. They won't even generate the money till you sign that contract, because then it comes out your trust.
And this is like Mark 21. You're exactly right. We are all powerful, and we do need to remind them of that. And this is what the Long March to Freedom 2 is about. And I hope to see everybody there. This is not. I mean, yes, CMW are going to be doing our little thing, but this is open to all groups to do this march. It's all of our march, and it should be all of our march. As I said, this is not going to be a one-day thing. This is going to it's going to be a few days. This is now time to sacrifice. We are once again fighting for our freedoms. Me personally, I will be sacrificing a fair bit to be on this march, and I'm willing to do that because I've got children, I've got grandchildren, so I'm going to do my best to make sure that they do not own nothing, and they ain't happy. At the end of the day, I can't allow that to happen. I don't think any single person wants that, and it is going to happen.
Anybody who loves your children, it's a no-brainer. You've got to do this for your children. 61 is the answer. It's what you've got to lose. You're going to lose everything anyway by 2030. They've already told you, by 2030, you'll have nothing and be happy. So what have you got to lose either way?
Danny West, what do you mean?
We know it works. But we're telling you, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Exactly. Danny, can you elaborate, please, mate? Isn't that the same as Freeman crap? No, there's a lot of things in the Freeman and the land movement they did get right, but their fundamental principles and underlying thing, they was wrong. Facts are facts. What we state, we've proven in courts. So no, it's not Freeman. Forget the Freeman and land. We've already discussed that. That's you put that aside. This is our constitution. Nothing to do with Freeman and land.
See, we're not freeing the land because we believe you've got to have some statute. You've got to have, like, example, you've got to be able to have insurance. If you cause loss, harm, or injury in a vehicle or on a motorbike or whatever, you've got to be able to pay for the damage that you've done because you've caused loss, harm, and injury. Stuff like that. Speeding, you know.
Well, it's about being self-accountable. It's like
Being sensible.
yeah, you could argue that we don't need insurance, but you got to understand this: if you don't have insurance and you cause loss or harm, you are liable for that. So you will pay for that. So I mean, like I said, a lot of things need to be sorted out. Some people are just incapable. I mean, if we've got drink drivers and we've got speeders on the roads, they're endangering lives. So until people can be self-accountable, it's not going to work. So we're going to have, like Gary says, we're going to have certain things there in place.
Yeah.
Now the fiction is absolutely 100% not freeman on land, Danny. It's 100%. If you can get to the court case on Tuesday, you'll see for yourself. There is a difference between a natural person and a legal person. A very big difference. Starts with Peter Smith. It's not easy for everyone to march, mate. There will be points along the way where everybody can just meet up. So come along to one of them points. There will be an end goal, so you could always meet at the end goal. This is going to be so people can join in to basically how they can. It's not a case of everyone has to march from the beginning. The more people that do march from the beginning, the better. But keep tuning into the march things because there's going to be ways where you can come, you can take part.
Well, they are going to be, Fiona, more upset about the 15-minute cities than they are the last. Of course, they're going to be more upset about them because once them come in, that'll be permanent. People don't kick back. They're here for eternity if you don't push back.
Well, this is the thing. Under the new amendments to international health regulations, a pandemic can last as long as they wanted to until they say there is no pandemic. We're under the rules of their pandemic, so they get complete control. They decide what happens to each country, when it happens to each country, which country pays. Again, it's another dispensation of wealth. So they've all in the international health regulations. Our taxpayers' money will pay for other countries to have PPE if they feel like it. It's all going to happen. It's complete control, and the minimum period that they're trying to say that these powers are going to last is 4 years. So for 4 years, you'll be completely restricted. You'll have no rights. You'll have no movement. And if it comes in, there's again, it's only legal. Our laws and our constitution can override it if we actually uphold it. But again, they can bring in forced vaccination and things like that. It's pretty much they're signing away carte blanche, complete control over what is done to us and what we can do.
Basically, what it'll be, these smart cities, you'll have a perimeter all the way around. If you ain't got the paperwork, if you've got you're in zone 1 or zone A, and they're in zone D or zone 4, and you want to go and visit them, unless you've been a good slave and you've got the correct paperwork, you ain't going anywhere. And plus the fact that it's all designed that way, so you don't get to use the countryside anymore. That's out of bounds. You ain't going to be going out into the countryside anymore. You're going to be confined to the big cities. People are not comprehending that yet, but they will do eventually when it all starts properly. You don't realise that people need to get a grip of this and go and read it, because what we've done 2 videos on so far on here, guys, you can watch yourselves. We've been doing some more. We've just ain't got around to it yet. But it's shocking what they're going to do to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at some of the things happening now. Sainsbury's is already putting up, and this is where we're going with these big corporations. Okay, when they get complete control, they have complete control in every aspect. It's like Gary said earlier. You'll be given kind of a credit because they are going to try and bring in a digital banking system, and within that digital banking system, they control what you spend your money on. So if they, like Gary says, if me and Gary do a live like this, and they decide that we're naughty boys, It means we can't buy food, we can't buy water, we can't travel. Sainsbury's already implementing what we're going to see and what we're going to do. In Sainsbury's, they've put barriers up where you have to scan your receipt to leave.
Yeah.
This is the life we're looking at. It's complete control, complete restriction. There is going to be no more freedoms. We've got less than a year.
Yeah. I can tell you exactly what's coming. 16 kilograms. This is all on the website, guys. You can go and look it up for yourself. It's on the WEF website. 16 kilograms of meat per year.
Yeah.
By 2030, they want that down to 0. Dairy products, milk, cheese, etc. 90 kilograms. They want that down to. And then by 2030, they want that. Sorry, it was a week, not a year. And then by 90 kilograms a week for that. That's cheese, milk, eggs, all inclusive in one that is. And they want that down to 0 as well by 2030. So by 2030, they don't want you eating any kind of meat. They don't want you eating any dairy products. And the cars, they want down to 194 cars per 1,000 by 2025. By 2030, they want 0 cars. This is me talking. This is on the website.
Well, this thing, everything me and Gary have been saying over these years, we've got from their own documents. It's not just us making this up. It's their own documents that state this. Yeah. And Gary's can be correct. By 2030, they are basically saying there will be no private cars on the road. So if you are a business, if you have a business, if you've got to get, you're not driving your car no more. This is what people don't realise. It's all about to go into big corporations. So, like I said, if you have a small business, if you own your own, if you're self-employed, that's gone. And that will be gone very, very soon, because that's not going to be conducive to the sustainable project. No. When they talk about their sustainability, they're talking about complete control, like Gary says, over food, minerals, everything. Yeah. So, I mean, Gary mentioned in his live earlier about Bill Gates, and there's a few of them buying up all the farmland. Okay, they're buying up all the farmland, so they're going to own the land where our food's grown on. This is why we need to back the farmers, and the farmers need to come on this as well, because they're actually, what they're doing to farmers is atrocious. They're actually getting rid of the farmers and they're buying up all the land. So all food production will be done under them. Now, Bill Gates has actually put out a proposal that vaccines, things like the COVID vaccine, that lot, should be put in our food. That's where we're headed.
Yeah. Well, you've got Domino's and all that now, and yeah, straight away putting essence of cockroach and stuff in the pizzas.
Yep, chicken stuff like that. See, this is a problem I have, because I've done a bit of research into it. Now, humans aren't meant to eat insects. Okay, they have. I mean, everybody sees it now. The WHO are now going to say that there's basically the new pandemic is a fungal infection. Now, there is chicken and there's a few other things within basically insects. We can't digest them, and actually they feed chitin. That's it, and actually feed fungal infections. So while you're eating this stuff in the flour, pasta, all that lot, you're actually eating food for these fungal infections to grow, and it's like a superfood for them. We can't digest it. Only, technically speaking, only birds can digest insects. Our stomach acids are not made for it. We cannot digest insects. As much as people think we can, we can't. And there is certain things within insects that are actually detrimental to us. Yeah. It needs to stop.
If you look at the live I did there, it was only a quick live just to tell them we was live, but I put on there about the eggs. Basically, the day before yesterday, I think it was, or a couple of days ago, in the last few days anyway, they burnt a big farm egg producing farm in America, and they've just killed 150,000 hens. And that's because Bill Gates is in line with somebody where they're making fake eggs and fake mayonnaise, and that's on my wall if you want to go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. It's there, facts are there, black and white. So basically, that's what you're doing, and it's going to be the same with beef, chicken, ham, pork. It's going to be GMO, all GMO shit.
Yeah.
And it's not now good for you. I mean, I exposed this about 8 months ago now with the rice, and I proved that it was a lot of the rice now is plastic.
Yep. We are eating a hell of we are eating a hell of a lot of synthetic foods. A hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, margarine's only one molecule away from plastic.
Yeah, exactly. People need to wake up and have a, you know, I know people on here are awake because they wouldn't be here otherwise, but it's people need to start looking. Pity we can't hire a cinema and put all this stuff and say to people, you know, free trip out to the cinema, blah, blah, blah. And then when they all get there, hire a cinema for the day, all 15 or 20-inch screens, and all show the same thing on every screen, pack it to the rafters, lock them in until they've watched it, you know, and say,
Well,
right now, you've actually seen it for yourself. It's up to you what you do about it.
Well, this is where the unity, and we can't stress that, this is where the unity comes in. If we stop competing with each other, if we stop taking chunks out of each other, and we unite, and we actually start putting across the solutions, stop talking about the problems, because we know the problems. We need solutions now. We know the problems. We need solutions. If we start uniting, if we start sharing each other, it's like tonight. Simon Bean MBE was going live. We found out that he put out he was going live before us. We was meant to go live at the same time, so we put ours back. It's called common decency. It's so we back each other. This is what we need. We need people to put the information out and start pushing out the information that's needed, pushing out the solutions.
Yeah. And
when we all take responsibility for that, it will happen.
When Simon went live, Simon promoted this live. And that's what we've got to do. Instead of competing and going live at the same time, that you've got to, you know, organise it around things and get people so you're all singing off the same in sheet. So what if you're going live at 8 o'clock like tonight? We can go live at 9 o'clock, compromise, and then push each other's lives and things like that. That's what you've got to do. And
it's called mutual respect.
Yeah. It's like you say, it's called uniting, and it's called coming together as a community. And that's what you've got to do.
That is one of the biggest things we need right now. We need the communities to start coming together. Start uniting on the very basic things we all hold dear. We don't want murders on our streets. We don't want stealing. We don't want a lot of things. If we, instead of go along with our opinions and our ideals, if we can just unite on the basic things that keep our society safe, we will be doing something right. And we can do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so all people really need to do is I know a lot of people on here are already doing it, is to do your own research and then spreading that. When you find out things, spread it, which I know people are, but it's frustrating at times, and I get it, because like I said, I've got family members and friends of my own who I could shake the shit out of them because I just don't want to listen. And they can't see the danger that's coming. I mean, I told somebody, like I said yesterday, you're going to lose your bank accounts going, they're coming for your house, this and another, and they just laughed in my face. And I thought, well, you laugh, but you won't be laughing in the next 2 years when all this has happened.
No, it's the thing. It's like we've got less than a year. I mean, there is things happening this year. Obviously, like the King's coronation. We need to make sure that coronation is how it should be. If we allow him to take that throne, and he subverts his obligations to our constitution and to us, we're done for. It's now time we have to stand up.
That's why we've got to go to Article 61 and make sure he upholds his oath.
Yep.
That's the only way you're going to do it. You've got these people are scumbags. They ain't going to do anything unless they're held accountable. So we have to hold them accountable, upholding our rights. So it ain't down to Charles. He's not going to do that by himself. The people have got to say, listen, you, You better do this because you've got an oath and you're treasonous, and we're going to hold you to it if you don't uphold your oath. We're all in 61 now.
Exactly. And I want to clarify. Oh, sorry,
go on. That's what you got to do.
And I want to clarify as well. It's like some people are worried about going into Article 61. Nothing can happen to you going into Article 61. It is your right. Okay. There is a difference between a right and something the government allows. You have a right to do so, so it cannot affect your job, your benefits, your house, anything. If it does, that is unlawful, an unlawful action, and you can prosecute and you can submit. But it won't, because nothing can be done to you. It is your right. There is nothing that they have in their arsenal that can stop you.
Once you realise how powerful Article 61 is, when you do the research on it, you'll see these people are just panicking and they're lying through the teeth because they're panicking. Because people are waking up. That's all that is. It's nothing to do with anything else.
I mean, if you want information on Article 61, on this YouTube page, there's a number of bits that we talk about it on. If you want the forms to go into Article 61, there is a pack. I shall put the link to the pack where the forms are in, and instructions on how to do it. There's also a video on here on how to do your 61 forms, but I'll put the links in this video after we finish. It's all in there. You just print it off, and then you just follow the instructions. It's 3 documents. You do your first one, then your second one 30 days apart, and then the last one 30 days after that.
You there, a knife? Knife?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, that was. I thought you fucking collapsed.
Well, I don't know what's going on. It's going haywire.
All I heard was a deep sigh, then you just disappeared. I thought, shit, it's collapsed. But yeah.
No, to be fair.
Echo.
What is going on? I'm getting massive feedback for some reason.
Right. It's good that you feel like that, Pauline. Sorry, Carol. That you feel like that. We need everybody to feel like that. That's a problem. We need everybody to say enough is enough, because that's the stage we need to be at, to show these people, you know, you ain't coming after my kids' future. You know, you've already ruined mine enough the last 3 years. You ain't doing it to my kids. That's the attitude we've got to have, or we ain't going to survive it.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Still echoing.
I don't get it.
That needs sorting knife.
Yeah, it's going haywire my end.
If I was you, I'd end it tonight now and sort that problem out, because that's terrible. fortunately.
It seems to just basically just gone completely haywire. I don't know why. Can you hear me right now, though?
Yeah.
What we'll do then, we'll end it there because StreamYard literally just keeps flickering, going off, and all the mics sort of going again.
That's
But
what you've
we'll
got to
leave it
do,
there.
guys, before we go, and I'll let you have the last word, Nate, is just spread this message. Spread the message. Lose the fear. Get it to 61. We can do this. They fear us more than we fear them. Trust me. We just need the people to act. That's all we need.
And the crazy thing, the Long March for Freedom 2, this is not a normal march. This is not go to London for a day and come home. You're going to need you're going to need a sleeping bag. You need a tent. You're going to need some walking boots. You're going to need some money to be able to get your food. That you need to be able to cook. This is not a normal march. This is where everybody stands up. So I'm hoping we're going to see everybody there. Please speak to other groups, speak to other people, get as many people on this as possible. When we come together, you'll see how powerful we are.
And you'll see why you need a tent now, because we're doing something that's never been done before, well, for 800 years. It's not been done for, so there you go. So we'll end it there then. Thanks for listening, guys. Good to see you all on the stream. Thank you for your support. We do appreciate it, and we can't do this without everybody else. It needs everybody, and we have to do this for our children. I'm imploring everybody to just think about it for your children and pass this message on and get the message out.
And the Long March for Freedom, it is family. Family can come as well, so you can bring your kids. I'm not being funny. I would say this should be the biggest life lesson you could ever bring your kids onto, because your kids are actually going to see what it means to fight for freedom. They're going to see how much it means. CMW will be doing this for CMW. When we want this, we'll be doing. It'll be educational. We're going to have a bit of a laugh, but it's going to be educational. We're going to learn a lot, answer a lot of questions, and by the end of it, hopefully, we'll have everybody bonding, and we'll have everybody more aware of what we need to do and how powerful we are. So this is the reason why we've sort of put it out now. We're looking around March time, but we'll put the day out later date. But you're going to need camping gear. You're going to need some walking boots. This is where we actually put our money where our mouth is, and we actually stand up.
Yeah, we're hoping that by the end of it, the bonding session that we've had for the few days we're doing it will unite everybody and bring everybody even closer. It'll be more like a family by the end of it than, you know, just strangers who are meeting in London for one day.
Exactly, and like I said, and there is an objective to this march. I said, do not think just because it's got the word march, don't think it's like the ones you've seen before where you go to London, come home. There's an objective to this march. So you're looking at about a few days to a week, at least. So have that in mind. This is where we stand. It is time to make a stand. It's time we do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thanks, guys. I love every single one of you. Here's my hand, here's my heart, as I always do. And yeah, just spread the message, because we need to get as many people as we can to sort this problem out, and we can do it. We've just got to get 61 out there in the public domain, basically, because it does work and it can be done 1000%. Well, Knife, I'll leave the last word for you.
Yep. Right, again, I will put the links to the YouTube video we've got that explains the process you need to go through. I'll put the link to the pack. What you need to do is print it off. Again, let's bring some community to this. If you can print some forms off for other people, please do. This isn't about money. This is about a community come together and doing what we can for each other. So let's do this. This is time to stand is now. We've run out of time now, so there's no more mucking about. There's no more endless marches. There's no more marches where nothing's done. This is actually an action. There's an end result to this. If you're on the march, you'll know, because you'll find out. If you're not on the march, then you can watch and then you can be very sorry afterwards. But all I'm going to say is, if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. So it's time to, I mean, Lord knows we've been in the movement, and we've been doing what we do for many, many years. People fall out, people have problems. It's time to put them problems aside, because when you look at the problems and the bickering and the opinions, when you put them up against what we're facing and what's going to happen, and moreover what we're going to leave for our children, then the bickering and the problems seem so immaterial, it's unbelievable. So let's get our freedom. Let's go and get our freedom. And we ain't asking anymore, we're demanding. So get your tents, get your sleeping bags, get your equipment, be ready.
And always have it in the front of your mind. Your children's futures depend on what you do now. You will reap,
Yep.
They will reap what you sow.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to remember. They will reap what you sow. If you're inactive and you don't care, then they're going to end up enslaved. And your future generations.
Yep.
I don't want that. No, nobody here wants that. Everybody
Exactly.
in the chat don't want that.
Yep. It's time for us to decide which side of history we want to be on.
Yeah.
Okay. No more asking. We've done our voting. We've done our marching. We've done our bits. There's no more asking. We haven't got time to keep asking, and we're not begging. We're not asking. We're not begging. We're demanding now. What is ours, we are going to get, and we're going to keep. And they have to do this. But we have to do it correctly. So it's got to be done lawfully. It's got to be done peacefully. We can do this. Like I said, be on the march, you'll find out more. We will be giving a few more details, but if you really want to know what this is, if you want to be part of the solution, you'll be on this march. And it is open to all groups. So bring your flags, bring your banners, bring everybody, bring your dog, bring whatever. But understand, this is not going to be easy. But it's going to be easier for us to do this now than it has for any of our ancestors or our past relatives. It's a lot easier for us to do this now. If we don't do it now, our children are going to face a lot worse. For them to get their freedoms back, if they can get their freedoms back, they are going to lose more than any generation before them. And I mean loss of life, loss of everything. So I personally think it's worth the small sacrifices we have to do now to make sure we cement a future for our children.
Yeah.
All right. On that, I should bid you good night. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Start getting your camping stuff. Get ready. Let's do this.
Yeah. Oh, sound.
Right, well, is it there? Right. Night, everybody. Again, watch out for this video afterwards. I shall put the links to what you need in this video after, as soon as I've got 5 minutes. Night, everybody. We'll probably do another live in another week or so. Stay tuned. All right, night.
So, guys. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.